We continue now at the top of Daf Samach Gimel Amid Beis in Meseches Gitin. This is Gittin Daf 63b. On the previous summit, the Gemara asked, according to Reb Nosson, who says that Holech is lav kizechi, so what would he say by Helach? Is Helach kizechi, or is it not kizechi? And again, in that same brayso where Rabbi Nosson said Holech is lav kizechi, Rabbi said Holech is kizechi. And the Gemara is now in the middle of bringing a proof from our Mishnah, because in our Mishnah you have a situation where a wife appoints a shliach lekabbalah, and then the husband gives it to that shliach, and we say that she's divorced immediately. And my lav behelach, is it not talking where the husband, when he gives it to the shliach, he says the word helach, Rabbi Nosson, and it's following Rabbi Nosson, and essentially we're saying helach is kizechi. As Rashi says, my lav behelach katani. By the case over here is the husband gives it to the shliach lekabbalah, and he says helach. Rabbi Nosson he depolig beholech umod behelach. The author of the Mishnah is Rabbi Nosson. By holech he says holech lav kizechi, but he admits by helach that helach is kizechi. And the Gemara says not necessarily lo no beholech v'Rebbe. It could be that the Mishnah is talking about where the husband says to the shliach holech, and it follows Rebbe that holech is kizechi, and that's why she is divorced immediately when he gives it to the shliach lekabbalah. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here, another proof. This is also from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Lefikach, therefore, Mamar lo habali, efshi shetekabel lo, laholech v'tein lo, ratza lachzer yachzer. Therefore, if the husband says, I don't want that this shliach should be a shliach lekabbalah, I don't want you to receive it for her, rather I want you to take it and bring it to her. So if he wants to retract, he can retract, because the shliach is now a shliach laholacha. And the Gemara says, Taima, the reasoning of the Mishnah is the Amar Yefshi, because he says, I don't want you to be a shliach lekabbalah. Hello Amar Yefshi, but if he didn't say Yefshi, let's say he just said holech, ratza lachzer lo yachzer. So then if he wants to retract, he cannot retract. Apparently he is then giving it to the shliach under the assumption that it's a shliach lekabbalah. And the Gemara wants to know, well, what exactly did the husband say? My lav behelach v'Rabbi Nosson. Is it not again? Maybe he said behelach. He said the word helach, and it's following Rabbi Nosson that helach is kizechi, and that's why she's divorced immediately. And again, the Gemara says lo no beholech v'Rebbe. We're talking specifically where the husband says the language of holech. It follows Rebbe who says holech is kizechi. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here a proof from the following brayso. Holech getze leishti. Let's say the husband says, take this get to my wife. Ratza lachzer yachzer. If he wants to retract, he can retract. Helach getze lishti. But if he says, helach this get to my wife, ratza lachzer lo yachzer, then he cannot retract if he wants to retract. And so the Gemara says to this, Man shamat le d'amar b'holech ratza lachzer yachzer. Who's the one that says that by holech, if he wants to retract, he can retract? Meaning, who's the one that says holech is lav kizechi? Rabbi Nosson, it's Rabbi Nosson. The kamer behelach, and yet the Bryce is making a distinction and saying by helach ratza lachzer lo yachzer, that if he wants to retract, he cannot retract. Shma mino helach kizechi dami shma mino. You see from this Bryce that according to Rabbi Nosson, helach is kizechi, even though holech is lav kizechi. That's what you see from this Bryce. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated, Hiskabeli giti v'ishtecha amra hiskabeli giti. Let's say the wife appoints him as a shliach lekabbalah, and the shliach correctly reports and says, your wife made me a shliach lekabbalah. Vu omer holech v'tein la, and then the husband, when he gives the get to the shliach, he says, holech, take it and give it to her. Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Rabbi Abba says, the Rav Huna says, the Rav says, Nasa shlucha ushlucha. In this case, the shliach becomes like the husband's shliach and like her shliach. Meaning to say, it's unclear whether he's a shliach laholacha or a shliach lekabbalah. V'choletzes, and in such a situation you would do chalitza, meaning to say if the husband dies before she actually receives the get, it would be a suffix whether she's divorced or whether she's considered a widow, and she would do chalitza and not yibum. And the Gemara says, Lememra, does that mean to say the misafkale l'Rav, that Rav is in doubt, holech kizechi dami, lav kizechi dami, whether holech is kizechi or not? That seems to be what Rav is saying, because he's saying we're not sure whether in a situation where the get did not come to her hands, we're not sure whether she's divorced or not. We're not sure whether holech is kizechi or not. But how could it be that Rav has a doubt about this? Voitmar, but it was stated, holech mana leploni shani chayev lo. Let's say a person says, take this mana to so-and-so, I'm chayev to him a mana, and you should deliver to him this mana. Amar Rav, so Rav says in that case, chayev b'achrayuso. So the person who's sending the money back to the person that he owes the money to, he's chayiv and achrayus. If anything should happen to the money, he's responsible. He has to make sure that money reaches the individual's hands. But if he wants to retract, he cannot retract, because apparently holech is kizechi. The moment he gives it to the shliach, it's as if the person he owes the money to has the money. He cannot retract. He still has responsibility that the money actually has to make it to the person he owes the money to, but apparently holech is kizechi according to Rav. And the Gemara says, no, Hasam over there, Safek Memona Lakula. There it's a monetary situation, and by a monetary situation we say Safek Memona Lakula. Essentially we say Hamotzi Mechaver all of Haraya, and therefore in that situation he's not able to retract. But over here, Safek Isura Lachumra, here we have a Safek that is in regards to Isser, in regards to prohibition, and we're strict and we say we really don't know whether this woman is divorced or not. And Rashi explains, Nasa shlucho shlucha v'choletzes, he becomes both his shliach and her shliach, and she should do chalitza, meaning, in Mesa Baal Kodem she get liyad, if the husband dies before she actually receives the get, choletzes v'lomas yavemis, we don't know whether she is divorced or not, therefore she should do chalitza and not yibam, because she might not be a widow, maybe she is divorced and there is no yibam over here. It seems like Rav has a doubt whether holach is kizachi. Was she divorced immediately when the get was received, or is it not kizachi and she wouldn't be divorced until the get actually reaches her? And then we had the case of the monetary situation. Now the person sending the money, he's certainly responsible that the money should get to the person he's sending it to, because the lender never said that he should send him the money with a shliach, so the lender doesn't have to take the responsibility. The Mishalech has to take the responsibility. However, but if he wants to retract, he can't retract. Alma kizachi dami. Again, you see, holech is kizachi. And the Gemara ends up saying Safek Memona Lakula. By money we say Safek Memona Lakula, meaning V'hamotzi mechavero yadu ala tachtona lafikach eino chozer. If you're trying to take money from, if a person trying to take money from his friend, he has the lower hand. He does not have the stronger position in this situation, and therefore he's not able to retract. We have to say in that situation, the person he's sending the money to, it's as if he's received the money, and the other person can't say he wants to retract and take the money back. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav says, Ein ha'isha osa shliach l'kabel gita miad shliach ba'ala. Wife is not allowed to make a shliach l'kabala to receive the get from the shliach of her husband, from the shliach l'holacha. Essentially, Rav is saying that a shliach l'holacha is not allowed to deliver a get to a shliach l'kabala. Rabbi Chanina says, Isha osa shliach l'kabel gita miad shliach ba'ala. A wife is allowed to make a shliach to receive the get from the shliach of her husband. The shliach l'holacha is allowed to deliver the get to a shliach Kabbalah. And the Gemara says, my time in the Rav. What's the reason of Rav that this is not allowed? The Gemara suggests two answers. Iba is saying, if you want, I could say, Mishum bizayin de Baal, because this is a disgrace to the husband. The idea that the wife is not willing to directly accept the get, that she is sending someone else to receive the get, that's a disgrace to the husband, and that's why it's not allowed. Now, in a normal situation of a shliach l'kabbalah, where the husband is delivering it to the shliach l'kabbalah, it's clear that the husband doesn't care. But in a situation where he's sending a shliach l'holacha, that's already a bizayin. Iba is saying, if you want, I could say another reason why you can't have a shliach l'holacha give it to a shliach l'kabbalah, mishum chatzeira habola achar mikan. It's a gezeira because it's too similar to a situation of a chatzeira, of her chutzner, of her courtyard that comes after the fact. Meaning to say, let's say you have a situation where a husband puts a get into a chutzner. The chutzner does not belong to the wife, and it doesn't belong to the husband. It doesn't belong to either of them. He puts it in this chutzner of a third party, and then the chutzner is transferred to the wife. So in that case, that's not going to be a good divorce because the husband is not actually giving the get to his wife in that case. And in this case over here, it's too similar to that. If a shliach l'holacha gives it to a different shliach, to a shliach l'kabbalah, that's not so different than a chatzer habola achar mikan, and people will get confused between the two cases. And Rashi explains, Mishum bizayin debal, it's because of the disgrace of the husband. Kasavar kalosi beina sheina mekabloso biatzma. It's considered a disgrace that she's not accepting it herself. Di'ilu kiyavda lekabel miyad habal ein kach shash bizayin. If she made a shlich lekabala to receive it directly from the husband, as we said, that's not a bizayin. Ta'yadav v'lo kapit. There, it's clear that he doesn't care. But otherwise, it's going to be a bizayin if the shliach is accepting it from another shliach. And the second reason was mishum chatzeir habal la'achar mikan. Let's say the chatzer that comes to her after the fact, la'achar shenasan lahabal haget b'chatzer shalacherim. In other words, again, the husband puts the get in a third party's chatzer, kanasa, and then she acquires the chatzer. Dahu lav gita have. That is certainly not a get. Debayinan v'nasan biyado b'chatzeir disraboy miyad. It needs to be placed by the husband directly in her hand or in her chatzer, which is included, which is counted as her hand. And in this case, at the moment it was given, the chutzner belonged to somebody else. It was not hers, because so we make a gezeira that the shliach of the wife should not receive it from the shliach of the husband, mishum dedami laha, because it's similar to this case of a chutzner. What's really happening in the chutzner, you could view it as he's putting it in the husband is putting it in the hands of one shliach, and then she goes ahead and she makes that shliach into her shliach. That's kind of what's happening happening by the chotzer. People will think the chotzer is a shliach of the husband at first. And when she acquires the chotzer, then the chotzer becomes her shliach. People might think that's what's going on. So if they would see that a shliach laholacha can give it to a shliach lekabbalah, they might think chatzer habala achra mikan is also okay, which it is not. And the Gemara continues, "My beinayu, what's the difference between the two reasons, meaning the reason of bizoy and abal, and the reason of chatzer habala achra mikan?" And the Gemara answers, "Ika beinayu, the difference is as follows: the kodmai v'shav shliach meikara. Let's say she made the shliach lekabbalah before the shliach laholacha was made. In that case, it's still a bizoyon of the baal, but it's not similar any longer to the case of chatzer habala achra mikan." Rashi says, "The kodmai v'shav shliach dida. She made her shliach kodem shemasra abal yad shlucho, before the husband gave it to his shliach. The hashda lo dami lechatzer habala achra mikan. In that case, it's not similar to chatzer habala achra mikan. It wouldn't be a problem according to that reason, but it would still be a problem according to the reasoning of bizoyin de baal." And the Gemara continues, "Ha'u gavra de shadr la gita le devisu." There was an individual who sent a get to his wife. Azal shlicha ashkecha ki yasv v'kalisha. The shliach found that she was sitting and she was kneading the dough. Amar lo, he said to her, "Hey lachkitach, take your get." Amar le, she said to him, "Lahav biyadach, let it be in your hands," meaning I want to convert you from a shliach laholacha to a shliach lekabbalah. You receive the get on my behalf. Amar Rav Nachman said, "Emisal Rabbi Chanina." If what Rabbi Chanina said was correct, that a shliach laholacha is allowed to give it to a shliach lekabbalah, Avdi Bovda, I would say this is also effective. Here, the shliach laholacha is turning into a shliach lekabbalah. It's no different. It should be effective. Amar le Rava said to him, "V'misal Rabbi Chanina avarat bovda." If what Rabbi Chanina said was correct, you would say this would be effective. Halo chazr shlichus eitzel habal. Here, there's a different problem because it's the same individual. That's a problem of the lo chazr shlichus eitzel habal. We mentioned this earlier in the Meseches that the shliach is not able to return to the husband and say, "I performed your shlichus," because now he turned into her shliach. And so the Gemara says, "Shalchu lekami de Rabbi Ami." They sent this question to Rabbi Ami. Shalach lu, he sent back to them, "Lo chazr shlichus eitzel habal." It is in fact the problem of lo chazr shlichus eitzel habal. Rabbi Chia bar Abba said, "Nisyashe bedavar." We have to consider this matter. They again sent the question to Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Amar, he said, "Kolhani shalchu lav." They're sending me this question over and over. Just like they don't know the answer, they have a doubt. Hachanami mesafka lon l'didon. So too we have a doubt. Havidavar shebe'erva. This is a situation involving erva, involving arayas. Vidavar shebe'erva choletzes. And when you have a situation of a davar shebe'erva, we say yidu chalitza, meaning we say it's a suffix erishin. You have to treat it like a doubt. Have uvda v'atzrucha Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa get v'chalitza. There was a case like this, and Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa said she has to receive a second get, and she has to get chalitza. The Gemara says, "Tarti, both of them, that doesn't make sense. If she's getting a second get, then she is divorced. She doesn't need chalitza. If she didn't receive another get, so it's a suffix, then she would get chalitza." What does he mean that she gets a get and chalitza? And the Gemara answers, "Get mechayim." It's a get. If the husband is still alive, then he should give a second get. V'chalitza lachar misa. But if the husband dies, so then it really is a suffix whether this was a divorce, and chalitza should be performed. And Rashi explains, "Lo chazra shlichus eitzel habal." The shlichus doesn't return to the husband. Shliach shechazra v'nasa shliach lamisha shenishtaleach lo. If you have a shliach that then becomes a shliach for the person the shliach is sent to, nituk mishlichus harishon. So he's uprooted from the first shlichus. At shelo haya lo shoz lachzer eitzel sholchan, and he didn't have an opportunity to go back to the one who sent him v'lomar asisi shlichuscha to say that I did your shlichus. U'shlichus she'ein ruya lachzer lahagid eina shlichus. And if you have a shlichus that you can't go back and report that you did the shlichus, that is not a good shlichus. And the Gemara continues, "Ahida havakara la nafasa." There was a woman whose name was Nafasa. Azal sahadi kasav tifasa. But when the witnesses wrote the get for her, they were appointed to write a get and give it to her. They wrote her name wrong. Instead of writing Nafasa, they wrote Tifasa. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa mishmei de Rav. Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa says in the name of Rav, "Asu edim shlichus." And in this case, the witnesses have performed the shlichus already. Meaning, once they wrote the get once, they've done what they were asked to do, and they can't write a second get. They have to be reappointed if they're going to write a get a second time. Ma'askif lo Rabbi asked on that, Mi kamer lu ksovu chaspa v'havula. Did the husband tell them, did he say to them, write a shard, write something worthless and give it to her? They haven't done their shlichus at all. Elama Rabbi, rather Rabbi says, V'adai kosav sahadi gita malya v'avad. Certainly if the witnesses would write a kosher get and it gets lost, asu edim shlichus, and then you can say the witnesses have completed their shlichus and they can't go write another get at that point in time unless they have a second instruction to write a new get. However, in this situation over here, where what they wrote wasn't even a kosher get, they can certainly write another get. Ma'askefla Rav Nachman, but Rav Nachman asked on that, even in a situation where it gets lost, they should be able to do it another time. Miko Amar Luks Kisvu Vanchu B'Chisaichu. Did the husband say? Did he say to them, write it and put it in your wallets, write it and store it away? Of course, they wanted to go to the wife, and therefore, even if it gets lost, Elamar Rav Nachman, rather, Rav Nachman says, even if it gets lost, Kosvin V'Nosden Afilu Me'apam, they can rewrite it and they can give it even 100 times. The whole point of the instruction is that they should write and give a kosher get, and she should be divorced. As long as that does not happen, they're allowed to continue to do so. And the Gemara continues, Boy minei Rava me Rav Nachman. Rava asks Rav Nachman the following question. Kisvu tenu l'shliach ma. What if the husband says to the witnesses, write a get and then give it to a shliach, and the shliach, he'll give it to my wife. So what's the halach in that case? So Lukei Salaklu, on the one hand, you could say that he's removing them at that point in time, meaning to say once it's given to the shliach, so then they're no longer shluchim. If something would happen, and let's say the get does not get delivered, they cannot write a new get. Odilmer, maybe Latircha Deduchaya, she was just telling them because he didn't want them to bother with it. So he said give it to a shliach, but still his real intention was that everything should come to completion. If it doesn't come to completion, if she's not divorced, then they can continue to write it. And Rashi explains, Kisvu tenu l'shliach. L'shliach shalisha minisi, I've appointed a shliach to deliver, v'chein nasu, and that's what they did. V'avad b'derech, the shliach loses it. Mi'amrino nasu kol shlichusa v'nestalku. Do we say that they did everything they were asked to do and that's it? Odilmer maybe, hainami at sheyavu get liyoda v'tiskarish, ason shluchin lichtov, ela l'tircha deducha shelo l'atrichem b'holacha. Maybe we say that over here also, the idea was until the get reaches her that she should be divorced. That's what he appointed them as shluchim in that case. And so he just didn't want them to bother to deliver it. But in this case, if it didn't get delivered, so maybe they're still shluchim, maybe they can still write another get. And the Gemara continues, Amalei Ravina Ravashi. Ravina said to Ravashi further, V'yolech lamau. What if he also says, and let him take it to her? There he's adding in that his real intention is it should get to her. That's even more reason they should be able to write another get if it gets lost. And the Gemara says to that teku, the Gemara leaves that as a question. And Rashi explains, Amalei Ravina Ravashi, V'yolech lamau. What if he said, V'yolech la im tim salomer? What it means is as follows. If you're going to say, B'hach de lo amar la kisvu tenu l'shliach, v'im kasvu v'nasnu lo v'yavad shlichusam. Let's say you say, when he says to them, write it and give it to the shliach, that in that case they're no longer shluchim. If the shliach loses the get, they can't write a new get because they've completed their shlichus. So everything he told them to do, they did. But here where he adds the word v'yolechla, that the shliach should deliver it to her, so there what would we say? Maybe there they still are considered shluchim to write another get. Since he said to them, write it and give it to the shliach, who will deliver it to her? Asan shluchim. Maybe he said that you're shluchim until it actually gets to her. That's why he added that phrase. Or maybe it doesn't make a difference. Maybe in that case as well, they have completed their shlichus. And again, the Gemara said teku. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer Af Omer is totally Gita, even if she says, take from me my get, if he wants to retract, he cannot retract. That is also a language of appointing a shliach lekabbalah. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Tolali, V'sali, V'yeheli biyodcha, all of those different languages, Tolali, Sali, Yeheli biyodcha, Kulan, Lashon, Kabbalah, and they're all languages of Kabbalah. It all means to say that the wife is appointing a shliach lekabbalah. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Ha'isha sha'amra hiskabeli giti. Let's say a wife says, receive from me my get. She appoints a shliach lekabbalah. Tzricha shtei kitei edim. She needs to have two sets of witnesses. Shnayim sha'omrim b'fanenu amra. Two that say that it was in front of us that she said that. Ushnayim sha'omrim b'fanenu kibel v'kara. And two of them that say that in front of us he accepted it and he tore it up. And Rashi explains, Ha'isha sha'amra hiskabeli giti. Let's say the wife says, receive from me my get, v'chazar v'yamar kibalti, and then he says, I did receive it, I received the get on your behalf. She needs to bring before us two sets of witnesses. You have to have two witnesses who testify that in front of us she told this shliach that he's a shliach lekabbalah. Then you have to have two other witnesses that say, in front of us he actually received the get and he tore it up. The Gemara will ask on this, why Why does he have to tear up the get? What does tearing up the get have to do with anything in this Mishnah? And then the Mishnah continues, Afilu heino rishonim ve'eino achronim. Even if it's the same witnesses, even if the first two witnesses and these last two witnesses that we just identified are actually the same people. Rashi says, Afilu hein shashnayim sha'amra b'fneim hein atzman ro k'shekivlu, meaning the same two that said, that she said in front of us, she's appointing this person a shlich l'kabbalah, they are the same witnesses who saw that he accepted the get. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Dalid Amud Aleph.